I'm with Vinod Khosla from Khosla Ventures at Exponential Medicine after you just delivered a great talk and Q&A. And what I really wanted to know about is I had a particular question on, with all the exponential technologies coming out, and as we're reaching a zero marginal cost society, do you see that happening in the field of healthcare and medicine by converging all the technologies such as smartphone physicals and artificial intelligence or robotics? So I was just wondering what your views are.
I am very optimistic. Having said that, in most technology changes, people overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. So I suspect many of the short-term expectations will not be met, but looking 15, 20 years out, the change will be much larger than we can ever imagine. So, it's the nature of exponentials that the initial pieces go slow and the later pieces go very fast. You see the hockey stick curve, but humans are used to more linear curves, and that's why they overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term.
Sure. So as like an investor, when you look at companies that are looking at all these technologies, if they're doing robotics and so forth, how do you basically hedge your bets for the long term? So do you look at...
I don't worry about being an investor. I look at what has impact and back impact and not try and put spreadsheets to it. I think it's the best way to really bet on high value, high option value technologies.
Also, since there's a singularity conflict and so forth, and Peter Thiel also says singularity or bust, and Ray Kurzweil that we're talking about, that how far do you think we're away from the actual singularity, and what are your thoughts on that? I was curious to know.
I don't try and predict timing of everything. I'm an optimist. I tend to be wrong often, but it doesn't bother me. I think the nature of innovation is you can't attach timing to it. So we have to recognize that innovation comes from risk, and risk means it can be successful, but it can also fail. So the key characteristic I find of innovation is high level of unpredictability on timing. I think directionally, once a direction makes sense, it tends to happen. It can happen slower if incumbents fight it. It can happen faster if it gets aligned. Sometimes politics matters. Sometimes a press article or an event catalyzes acceleration. That's why the impact is very unpredictable, and I don't try and predict timing, but if you do the right things, you'll be in the right wave. It's like surfing. You don't know when you'll catch one.
Absolutely. Also, the final thing I had was, on the smartphone physical, I think you've invested in a few of those companies. What is your vision with that in terms of, with the LifeCore and iNature and all these conversions?
My view is medical testing has to get a lot cheaper, a lot more convenient, and a lot more frequent. So it can't get more frequent unless it's a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient. And that means it probably is centered around the smartphone. Having said that, there's things that are. Now, maybe your finger prick at home will give you hundreds of analytes in your blood.
Sure.
And sensors will continuously monitor you. I mentioned a sensor that does 400,000 vital sign readings a day. Those are all really exciting. Microbiome analysis, for example, won't be in the home, but it's lots and lots of data. If you can make it cheap enough, it'll be frequent enough, and if it's frequent enough, we'll have lots of it, which means we'll be able to derive valuable insights. And we need enough data to really reduce it to practical, usable insights and actions.
So you have a famous quote when you say, if it doesn't scale, it doesn't obviously matter. So how do you think about bringing these technologies to the developing world? So how do you bring that to 1 billion people in India, Malaysia, Indonesia?
I think it will happen because they're so much cheaper and so much more accessible. If you're not within reach of a doctor, that may actually be the best thing for you.
Something like iNature, like you said, would replace an entire $20,000 ophthalmoscope.
Yes.
Right? Absolutely.
So we'll see a lot of that in all these various technologies.
So basically, these convergences are going to take us toward that zero marginal cost society. So thank you so much for your time,
Great.
and I appreciate it.
Thank you.